how can I say that? Running out of energy.
Okay, now serious talk. Forest have just released a statement saying that they will consider their options against PGMOL and the Premier League as a whole, as they feel that they've been blatantly cheated, robbed against Everton. They believe they were robbed 3 penalties, which I agree with, by the way. I think they were all possibly more penalties than not, and actually some of them very clear, at least 2 of them extremely clear, and they were not given. And their accusation is that the referee, Stuart Atwell, who was VAR, is a Luton fan, and they're currently in a relegation battle with both Everton and Luton. And obviously the implication is that Everton are sitting higher than both of them at the table, so it directly pulls Forest and Luton into the most, I guess, direct relegation battle that there is, because they both occupy the 2 spots slightly above the relegation zone. I'll start off by saying that I agree with the frustration. I understand the emotion, the anger that has been caused by what's happened on the field today. I get that. And I think it's been coming for the Premier League, for the referees, because they've been so poor this season. And I just think they've been poor for everyone. In this case, it's absolutely terrible for the Premier League to not consider this conflict of interest. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. You would always assume that the Premier League has some sort of scheduling or mechanism in place that does not allow for referees to officiate on clubs which they supported as children, or clubs that they support, or clubs that they are born from. It's as simple as that. You would just assume that the Premier League takes care of all possible conflicts of interest. For example, Michael Oliver and Manchester City. But yet they do not do that. Yes, I get the fact that these referees are professional and they should be able to make objective judgments on games, but why would you take that risk in the first place? I mean, that's a simple step to mitigate this risk or chances of this happening. And this is why now the backlash will be put on blast for everyone to see. And in this case, it's absolutely deserved. I understand that. However, it is unprofessional behavior from the club itself and the representatives of the clubs to put out a tweet on social media like that. I agree that is unprofessional, and there was probably or easily a better way that they could have gone about it. I mean, this is a professional brand. It needs to be more classier than that. I just think it should be more classier than that. You cannot have Premier League clubs going against the Premier League. The whole institution is in shambles right now. The whole situation is now blown completely out of proportion. Okay, maybe not blown out of proportion. Let me watch my words. They have every right to be angry. They could get relegated. I get that. But I'm just saying it is not a good look for England and the Premier League when its clubs and its own league are going at each other and literally coming for each other's heads. I just think that can't be a good look for the brand. There is no way. And this is not the first time that the referees have made huge catastrophic mistakes. This could send Forest into relegation, and they could have cost Liverpool the title with what happened at the Spurs game, that they acknowledged the error and put out a statement. Liverpool put out a statement themselves, and they said they will consider their options. But what's considering an option? Do they want a point? Because that's not going to happen. You can't get points that you didn't earn. Points are earned on the field. And if you didn't win the game or you didn't get a point from the game, you just didn't. It's as simple as that. Whether referees made mistakes or not, you can't get free points. That's not how it works. Secondly, do they want the replay? That's never ever been done in the history of football. So what would have to happen? You would have to have a meeting first at the beginning of the season, before the season starts, with FIFA and the whole institutions of governing football bodies to be able to put measures in place for that to happen in the first place. There's no previous ruling. What is that called in law? Precedent. There's no previous precedent for this to ever happen in football in the middle of an ongoing season, in the middle of the league, with games going on in between. Football games and league tables are being decided by FFP point deductions and apparently clubs also want 3 points, or what's going on? And let's be fair, all these clubs wanting retributions for mistakes against them, where were they in the past? Because teams have clearly had issues with the refereeing decisions. They've had decisions go against them. They could have cost them their whole seasons. Let's have a look at examples. Bournemouth. Didn't Bournemouth go down because Hawkeye malfunctioned? Hawkeye controls what we call the goal line technology. Well, Sheffield United scored a goal against Aston Villa, a legitimate goal, just like Liverpool did against Spurs. Then the game finished 0-0. But because the goal line technology malfunctioned, the ball crossed the line and the keeper actually carried it into the net. Hawkeye couldn't tell, and the referee and the linesman couldn't tell that the ball had clearly crossed the line, so they didn't give it. But the goal line technology was not working to confirm that the ball did go past the line. What happened? The game finished 0-0. It could have finished 1-0 to Sheffield United, giving them their 3 points, and Aston Villa not getting a point, which could have led to Bournemouth actually staying up in the Premier League because they got relegated instead of Villa. Villa stay up. Villa sell Jack Grealish to Man City for 100 million. Man City go on and win the treble. Can you see how football quickly moves on from a direct decision that could have led to Aston Villa staying in the championship? But Aston Villa right now end up getting Unai Emery. Aston Villa are now in the Champions League spots and look most likely favourable to qualify for the Champions League, all because of one thing: goal line technology malfunctioning. That is absolutely incredible. Bournemouth did say they will discuss a claim, but I don't know how that's going. I actually have no idea how they were able to settle it, because we know being in the Premier League for TV rights, for revenue, for the brand is at minimum about 100 million in terms of revenue is what I've heard. So goal line technology cost Bournemouth probably their spot in the Premier League and 100 million. Burnley are getting relegated because of refereeing decisions. Let's be fair, it's not just the big teams that are being hard done by referees and officiating. Company has had to suffer the worst decisions for Burnley on a multiple basis. Almost every second week, Burnley have had probably the most decisions go against them. Surely Burnley have a right as anybody, a minimum of a right as anybody, to make a statement of their own. Bad decisions happens to teams every now and then. Man City lost the game due to Marcus Rashford being offside and running with the ball, but apparently he was not interfering with play. They said he was not interfering with play here when he ran next to the ball, chased it, and then just left it for Bruno to hit it. That's the first of its kind that we've ever seen. Could have cost Man City the title. They lost the game. Directly, I will mention the Liverpool incident. Not Liverpool directly, but Rodri clearly handled the ball at Goodison Park. City won the league by a narrow point or something that season. Could have cost Liverpool the title. Directly, another direct comparison. Odegaard was playing basketball in Anfield, in the Anfield box. It wasn't given. Could have cost Liverpool, or may come to cost Liverpool the title at the end of the season. These things have been happening everywhere. Directly, Newcastle scored a goal where clearly there was a push on Gabriel. Newcastle won the game. Could cost the Arsenal the title this season. A lot is going on. Just like it could have cost them last season with the mistake at the Emirates with Brentford. Howard Webb and PGMOL have been handing out apologies to clubs like it's candy. A lot is going on. Could cost teams the Champions League spots with Brighton and Spurs, when Brighton could have beat Spurs and put them in their good position. A lot is happening, and how do you restore what those clubs potentially lost? That's a very difficult decision, and I think it should be reviewed at the end of the season. But for now, referees should do the best that they can, and when they do nonsense, they should be called out for it. I understand, but there's no way that clubs are allowed to go up against their brand. I just don't think that's a good look, and I just think the relationship between the clubs and its own league, it's deteriorating with the fans now. They're insinuating corruption. They think there is no integrity in the Premier League. Then what's the point of watching it? Let's not call it the best league in the world. Let's not call it the most entertaining league in the world. Let's move on back to maybe the other leagues in Europe. Maybe they're more interesting, they're better, because we don't hear any of these complaints. Or maybe let's endorse the Super League or something, because at this point, what is the point of that? Why should clubs do that? I do not think it's the better. I just think there's a better way to go to go and voice their frustrations. With that being said, that's just my opinion. I know this video has been a little bit too long, but some passion talking there. I hope you enjoyed my video. Stay tuned. I will see you in the next one.